All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this very special presentation on precision bottom fishing for explosive profits. My name is Steve Chappell, the Director of Trading Systems Development here at VectorVest, and I am super excited about this content that we have for you here this week. Let's jump right into it. So the first thing we need to learn is to not be fearful of market corrections. If you have the right system, market bottoms create explosive profit potential. So if there's one thing I want you to understand right out of the gate, it's that your system is going to determine your success. You don't want to be at the mercy of the market anymore. You got to learn how to take control and get things right and realize that market bottoms, that's where the money is. But in order to get this right, we need to move from uncertainty and missed opportunity to confidence in knowing precisely what to do. And you're not only going to take advantage of future opportunities in the stock market, but really maximize them. Make the most out of each and every single market bottom you come across down the road, so that you'll be able to live out your retirement on your own terms and just the way you've always wanted to do it. You'll be able to provide for your family and not have to worry about enough money to do things that really make you happy. The first thing you need to understand to do this right is that it requires a paradigm shift, a new way of thinking to really be able to pinpoint market bottoms and know precisely the right time and the right kinds of stocks to really make it work. So the first thing you need to realize from this point is that it's a shift from buying safe undervalued stocks rising in price, which are exactly the kind of stocks that thrive in major market trends of bull markets, to at market bottoms, stocks that have been beaten silly, I mean creamed during the prior market correction. This gives them the tremendous upside potential that you're looking for over the very short term or even longer if they're good stocks. We're looking for stocks that can produce double-digit, heck, sometimes triple-digit gains in just days to weeks, not years. Some of these stocks can climb 100, 200, 300% or more in months to years, given a good market. But if we get this wrong, it will lead to too many false signals before the true bottom hits, and a tremendous amount of frustration and pain will set in. And so the big problem that must be dealt with here is timing. On the stock level, things can look great. Your setup, trigger, even execution can be flawless, but something is missing. What could it be? You start to think things like, maybe I'm just not using the right indicator or the right look back period. Or maybe there's a better indicator out there that will produce far better results. But the choices are many and often confusing. So ultimately, you just feel overwhelmed. You get buried with indicators and it can leave you confused, or worse yet, incorrect if you're not careful. So the real problem is that your system is incomplete. If you get nothing else from this presentation, understand that your system will determine your success. The system doesn't need to be complicated to be definitive, to have reliable outcomes. It can and should be as easy as, well, 1, 2, 3. The main thing I want you to take away from this is you need a system to tell you, 1, when to buy, 2, what to buy, and 3, when to sell. So remember, there's 3 main cornerstones to getting things right: when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell. And what we really want is precise market entries, stocks with explosive upside potential, and the ability to cut losers quickly and let winners run. So let's break this down a little further and look at this model in another way. Timing is everything. It's the single most important factor in determining your success in the future. We want to buy when blood is in the streets, when it feels like what you should really be doing is stuffing money under your mattress. Those are typically the best buying opportunities. But We need a precise, systematic way to do it. It can't be guesswork. So what do I mean by precise timing, you ask? Well, what I mean by that is getting in the day the market blasts off. Getting in right as the market starts to explode upward. Because that's where the money is. When we find stocks hitting bottom, when the market is hitting bottom, that's when they'll take off like a bird. So how do we do it? Well, we need indicators to tell us that. You need precise indicators for when markets are bottoming and ready to blast off. You see, markets cannot be timed with precision by price and volume indicators alone. There's still a missing piece here. Let me show you what I mean. So let's go over into VectorVest here really quick. And we're going to make a quick pit stop right at the market timing graph. So I'm going to go right up to the timing tab. Then I'll select market timing graph. And why pick any old bottom? Let's go to the granddaddy of them all. Let's go back to March of 2009. And so here we are. Let me go ahead and put a date line on for you. Right at the March low of 2009, coming off the back of the financial crisis, the second big leg down in the market off of the November highs from 2007. Surely this was a time that felt like the last thing you wanted to be doing was going right out there and buying stocks. But lo and behold, if you had VectorVest and were following VectorVest the way you should be and reading the VectorVest views, let's see what we had to say here on March the 6th, 2009. So I'm going to minimize the graph, go right over to the views, and one of my favorite things about VectorVest is that we leave a track record. And so I can go back and see at any time in the past what VectorVest has had to say about the market and what kinds of tactics and things that I should be employing in the market at that time. If I go back to March and to the 6th and click on OK, if I just consult the very top overview section, the essay on March the 6th, the title was Itching to Rally. So while the market is still in a free fall, lo and behold, if you would have opened up the VectorVest platform, taken the time to read the views, we will point out that the market is actually starting to get primed up for a rally. And we'll explain why. If I jump us down to the strategy section here, I mean, look at the color guard. Look at all that red. Blood was certainly in the streets. In strategy, he'll quickly point out that we're seeing something develop with some of our indicators that we have seen before on the back of the tech bubble collapse that led down to the lows of October 2002 and March of 2003. And so he goes on to say, if history repeats itself, we will soon have a bear market rally which will peter out, then the bulls will stampede again. Until then, we need to go with the flow. So we're saying the market is itching to rally, but ultimately we need to wait for the explosive move. If you'll notice quickly, we're still short on the market with contra ETFs, which are ETFs that you can buy that take advantage of downward moving markets. But it does say here in very clean text, we will exit these positions and go long with one of the following strategies if an explosive rally occurs. And these are all specific bottom fishing strategies, one of which we call the mother of bottom fishing strategies because quite simply, odds are it's typically going to be the best. And that's jailbreak, no contra ETFs. So while the market didn't take off the next day, if I skip us forward just 2 sessions to March the 10th for sake of time, we're starting to see again the red lights dissipate from the color guard. An interesting thing, of course, for some of you might be, well, why didn't we start saying some of this on the 3 yellow lights on a couple of prior occasions? Well, there's a method to our madness, a specific technique or set of techniques that we employ to pinpoint these market bottoms with precision. But on March the 10th, even better yet, that morning, and I'll never forget it either, The futures that morning were up 4, 5, and 6% respectively. It was news that Citigroup, that had been profitable in the first 2 months of 2009, that sparked a major rally on Wall Street, driving stock prices sharply higher. So presuming that the rally continues tomorrow, and with 3 yellow lights and an up-down situation, prudent investors may go bargain hunting and bottom fishing. Aggressive investors and traders should play the market to the upside. And so a quick check back of the market timing graph will point out very nicely that that was a buying opportunity of a lifetime. And VectorVest got it right. The best news here for everyone is that's not the only time we got it right. We've been doing this for more than 25 years with pinpoint precision. And you can point to any market correction and find a reliable, systematic way to pinpoint the ensuing bottom. It's going to come by way of a couple of pieces of information. One, our proprietary indicators hitting oversold levels, like they were back here in March, when the MTI was well below 0.6 at 0.31, while the buy to sell ratio was well below 0.2 at 0.07. And then the market exploded upward. And if we look at any ensuing bottom, we'll see that those are critical thresholds with our proprietary indicators. So the bottom is imminent and we know how to spot it. Even better news for some, you typically get a couple of good bottoms per year on average. And we have a completely mechanical approach to help you nail each and every single one of them in the future. When you get timing right, you get beautiful entries even on stocks that are household names like Apple. So what you learned in this first portion is that we need to make a strategic shift. And instead of being uncertain at pinpointing market entries, we need precision and precise market entries. The second cornerstone of our 3 cornerstones is what to buy. Well, we want to buy stocks with explosive upside potential. Let's shift from ordinary returns to explosive gains. So what is explosive? What do we really want? In simple terms, we want to buy stocks that produce double-digit to triple-digit gains in days to weeks, not years. If we get timing right and simply choose good stocks, not a bad return over a 3-month performance from February 12th, 2016 to May the 12th, 2016. Here's your typical Amazon, Facebook, Home Depot, Disney, Visa, Google, Gilead Sciences, and so on that are in many people's portfolios. The interesting thing, of course, if you look at the bottom 2 rows with the average, it underperformed just the S&P. And so we don't want ordinary performance. Ordinary performance will lead to some decent result. Let's say we just took a portion of our money, say 20 grand, we would have made $1,936 on this investment, assuming we received the same exact pricing. But they just don't get it done. We did pretty well, but I know many of you just want to crush it. I know, because I'm one of you guys. And I'm not here to suggest that we shouldn't buy your Facebooks, your Netflix, your Amazons of the world. In fact, every portfolio of your longer term core holdings should contain those very same kinds of stocks. It's that market bottoms present enormous potential if we know exactly the right stocks to buy accordingly. And so we can slice off a good chunk of our capital and put it to work in an area that'll grow our portfolio faster. So how do I find those big winners? Well, the answer is powerful searches. What you really need are searches like we have in our searches bottom fishing folder, so that once we have precision with the timing, these are lists of stocks that should provide the explosive upside that we're really looking for. And really, there's one main ingredient and some fringe benefits along the way. But one main ingredient and what makes all of these strategies click. And that's the column here that says RT, or relative timing. That's the column on our proprietary analysis that lets us identify the stocks that have been beaten up the most in the prior downturn. It's also nice to see that many of these stocks, although it's not a requirement, will have relatively nice relative value scores, and so you have good or to great upside potential in many of the stocks that you'll find in the bottom fishing category. Another thing to notice is that they all carry a sell recommendation. You can see the red S's down the right hand side of the graphic. If they've been beaten up the most, naturally they're going to be sell recommended stocks when we buy them. So there's always the exception to the rule. On the whole, we don't want to buy sell recommended stocks. Certainly not a few weeks off a market bottom, but at the bottom they present wonderful opportunities for big jumps in stock price because you have relatively good stocks that have been smoked in the prior downturn. And so right in the Unisearch tool, right in the searches bottom fishing folder, there is a search in there for everyone. We've already named a couple just in the presentation today by way of Jailbreak and also bottom fishing and rising industries. And when we get it right, folks, our results change dramatically. Here's the same 3-month period, and we can see, look at the return. The stocks as an aggregate, as a whole, return nearly 90%, or 9 times market performance, where before we were slightly underperforming the market over the same 3-month period. So let's just assume again, we're working with $20,000 of working capital on this basket. Now we have a return of $17,904 in the same 3 months. And so strategic shift number 2 is to move away from buying your FANG stocks at market bottoms. While it will present terrific buying opportunities, what we really want to do is buy stocks that have the explosive upside potential, because that's where the money is. Finally, the third leg, or the third cornerstone that we need to learn, is to cut losers quickly and let winners run. Very wise quote from a very famous investor. Why are these tactics going to be important? Because risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Typically, it means no exit plan, or even in some cases, no plan at all. But an exit plan not only to cut losses short, but allow the winners to run, but only run enough to where the run is now starting to become exhausted. Profit locker is what we're going to use to get that job done. Here's an example of Caesars Entertainment on that same February bottom of our 3-month test. We'll see a beautiful entry here on Caesars, followed by a beautiful exit near the peak for the ensuing couple of weeks of trading. You'll also notice that this is not your typical ordinary trailing or ratcheting stop, because there was some pretty wild stock activity in the middle of that trade. Profit locker was smart enough to ignore that and capture gains near the peak to the tune of 47% in just a couple weeks. You'll also notice a chart here in Sierra Wireless. We didn't get quite the explosivity of the prior stock, but it did really run hard for the next several weeks. And here again, it was smart enough to keep us in that consolidation patch in the middle of the trade that went sideways and lock profits in as the stock was coming up towards the ensuing peak. So while I'm not suggesting you're going to get in at the very best price possible and get out at the very best price possible, we're going to get pretty darn close. So I figure when we get it all right and we do things like 10 stock portfolios, no more than 2 stocks per industry, dollar weight, get the timing precise, know precisely what stocks to buy, we can see results such as this and see them turn after turn after turn. Here you have a portfolio that's up 353% annualized with just a 4% drawdown in just 4 weeks, using bottom fishing for explosive profits methodology. That's a 30% realized gain in 4 weeks' time with only a 4% drawdown along the way and only $169 in commissions to boot. So I figure strategic shift number 3 is not knowing when to sell, but knowing precisely when to sell. And so the one thing I hope everyone got out of this video is that ultimately your system is going to determine your level of success. And the main thing to take away is that we're going to need a systematic approach to when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell them. When we talk about the systematic approach of when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell, remember what we really want are precise market entries, stocks with explosive upside potential, and the ability to cut losers quickly and let our winners run. Old Abe Lincoln, this is a quote that I've followed since my junior year in high school. He once said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. And while I own a good plot of land, over 7 acres these days, and I know what it's like to fend the forest off, and the value of sharpening an axe from that perspective, I'll tell you, I use a chainsaw instead. But, the real message here is you need to be prepared, because when the next opportunity arises, you're going to want to take full advantage, most advantage you can of that opportunity each and every time. And so you got to get up to speed on exactly how to do it. And so we have a course that we put together called Precision Bottom Fishing for Explosive Profits. In just 5 weeks, you're going to learn how to generate explosive profits by nailing market bottoms with precision. In the first week, we're going to talk about the mindset. It's so critically important. We're going to spend a lot more time on the paradigm shift and what's really taking place in terms of getting it right from a psychological standpoint. We'll talk about the psychology of a bottom, the change in approach that's required to get it done. We're going to then show you how to pinpoint your market entries, how to recognize those turning points, and know exactly when to get in. Then we're going to talk about powerful searches and how to find the best candidates to maximize our potential returns. We'll go through the 3 key attributes of the big winners. We'll also show you how to identify the best searches to use for the turn, and also talk about some cherry picking techniques that you can do if you prefer to go that route. In Module 4, the 4th week, we'll talk about some critical money management tactics. There's 5 core tactics that we'll go through, some of which I lightly covered in the presentation today, but the correct stops to employ is absolutely critical, and I've done enough research that we've identified the best stop to use, and it's using Profit Locker with some specific settings. Also, we're going to provide you with a definitive plan, something that you can print out, put it right on your desk so that when the next turn develops, you'll know exactly what to do. You just go down and tick the boxes one by one until you're ready to rock. And so we'll also provide 5 live mastery support sessions. These are awesome because it allows us to answer any individual questions that you specifically might have. And we will not close that mastery support session until everyone is satisfied and ready to move on to the next module. If you can't make it, don't worry. All of these sessions are going to be recorded live, and they're also going to be archived into a tool we use called Digital Chalk, which will provide a beautiful little course flow, and you can even step through the course at your own pace if you decide to do so. We'll have a very special bonus session for those of you that get signed up over the weekend, early indicators of market bottoms. So you'll be able to know, based upon some chart patterns and some other things that we've learned in the past, you'll be able to know when market bottoms are coming. They're right around the corner, so that you can start to get your shopping list ready well in advance and be ready to rock and roll. The cost of the course is $14.90. So all you got to do right now is go to www.vectorvest.com/bf, or you can go right to VectorVest in the events page and on our website and sign up for the course there as well. So I'd just like to wrap and say we had a wonderful class already this year. Students loved it. You will not be disappointed. We have a 100% money back guarantee on the course. If you do all the work, if you complete all the coursework, if you come to all the sessions or at least watch them up online and you're not satisfied, does have a money back guarantee. So that's it for this week, guys. We'll see you back here next week at VectorVest University. And I hope to see you in the next bottom fishing class. See you then.